Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the virtual Great American Teach-In with Pasco eSchool for November 2016. My name is Jan Stern, and I am a teacher with Pasco eSchool, and I am here today with Brian Obiedzenski, and he is a NASCAR driver, and I have some pictures to show. Brian started racing in 1999. He 38 career NASCAR All-American Series wins. He is a two-time NASCAR Rookie of the Year, Division 4 and Division 2. In 2015, he was the championship winner. 2015 also, he was the most popular driver. And in 2016, he is the SEMA Show Guest Celebrity, as well as the NASCAR Division 2 Rookie of the Year. He has 1 win, 18 top 5s, 24 top 10s. And if you guys out there have any questions whatsoever, please feel free to text me your name and number, and I will get that up for Brian. And without further ado, I present to you, Brian.
Good morning. Hope everyone is doing well. I just want to thank Pasco eSchool for having me. First off, really cool opportunity to talk to some students. Always a pleasure. I was there once before, trying to further my education and be the best me that I can be. So I want to make sure if there's any help that I can give that I can provide. So Ms. Stern had me had an email. We talked, and I thought that this was a good avenue, and just figured I'd get on today and speak with you about both NASCAR and my other passion, which is just cars in general. She kind of went over some of the stats, but there's a lot of races that you will lose more than you will win. So you just need to make sure, starting off, if in anything, it applies to anything, there's going to be more losses than wins, and you need to make sure that if you do get knocked down, you get back up and dust yourself off and try harder to, like I said, be the best you can. I was 16 years old at the time and decided with some buddies on a whim to throw together a car, because at the age of 16, at that point in time, NASCAR would offer a license to me. So went ahead, got my license, and started at a quarter-mile track. I was living in Long Island, New York at the time. That's where I'm from. And raced there for a while and began to move up the ranks. I had some good years. I had some bad years. I had some wrecked cars. I had some cars that we won with. But we tried hard, and we tried to learn the industry best we could. There's way more than just driving the car on a Saturday or Sunday. There's a lot of work and preparation that goes in. There's a lot of trial and error, and there is definitely a lot of learning that we had to do. When I started, I wasn't the only guy that was struggling. We all kind of worked together to find some solutions to make the car go faster, and that's where it began to become more than a hobby and more of a career path for me, trying to further my math and my science, where I wouldn't actually think at that point in time that it would be so important. But there are so many ways. We could spend hours and hours and hours and days talking about the math that goes into figuring out the ride height of where the car is going to sit, and the suspension geometry of angles and different sorts of things like that you'll do for different tracks and different speeds. So in 2007, 2008, I kind of forget, we moved to North Carolina to get closer to the hub of racing. NASCAR is based out of the Mooresville, Concord area here in North Carolina. So we packed up. At the time, it was me and my girlfriend, and she's now my wife, and we have a beautiful daughter. And we moved down here to North Carolina and have enjoyed it since. Did not miss any of the snow. Wasn't a snow fan. So we came down to North Carolina, and we continued to pursue the dream of mine that I did not want to let go. There was many times that I thought it would be unobtainable to race at the level that I'm racing at. and just continue to push on forward and meet the right people and get involved in the sport any way I could, and found again that there was more than just driving a car. I have a lot of sponsors that I represent that make my racing to the quality that I'm at today. Racing's an expensive sport, and the folks that I represent like the way that I represent their company and help build their brand awareness. And they're able to help me with the financial aspect, but a lot of that comes back to holding yourself to high standards and high performance, and really pushing forward to not settle for that 5th and 6th place finish. Although those are great finishes in the world of NASCAR, you need to go out and win those races, and do everything you can to make sure that the car is performing, that your crew is ready and educated, and that you as a driver stay in great physical shape, because it's demanding. So like I said, there's many avenues of where you can get involved in the sport. But I also today want to touch also on my full-time career right now. When I came out of high school, I had trended toward the automotive shop, and the technology side of things helped me with the racing aspect, but it was something that I felt strongly about. Not only just having a passion for working on cars, but being in the customer service industry, where when I fix somebody's car, it's not that I just fixed a problem and solved the solution. It's that I actually get the satisfaction of knowing that the customer that just came through, I'm providing them with a vehicle that is ready to go wherever the road may take them, whether they're heading to California or whether they're heading to the grocery store. I find a lot of personal satisfaction in the fact that I'm making sure that their car is safe, operating to factory specifications, and that they have no worries on their mind, that when they get in the car and put the ignition key in, they're able to go wherever they want to. So when I left high school with a little bit of a technical background, I found that General Motors offered a program called the ASEP program, the Automotive Service Excellence Program. And I spoke with my parents, and we all felt that with my background working on cars all through my childhood, trying to make them go fast, that it would be a good fit for me. I'm lucky enough to where my hobby is what I do every day for work. And I feel like I don't come to work every day because I am loving what I'm doing. And when you can really enjoy and love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I urge you, whether it is the automotive field or whether it's something else that you feel strongly about, if you can pursue a passion, I'm lucky enough to do it in 2 avenues, but if you can pursue a passion as a career, it's something that you want to take advantage of, and you want to definitely go ahead and pursue that. I urge you to pursue that. So Jan's got a number there. Miss Stern's got a number there. Looks like you guys can text her some questions if you have any questions at all during the program here today. But I'll just continue to kind of talk about some of the stuff. But if you have anything there, Miss Stern?
I do have a question for you.
Excellent.
And this question is from Cascade. What kinds of degrees would you recommend for someone interested in working in the NASCAR field?
Excellent. That's a great question.
Would sports management be a good choice?
Sports management. I'm going to say yes. The industry is always changing, but I recently actually just signed a PR marketing representative who handles a lot of this stuff on the back end of getting some of the appearances that I do. Like I just came back from Las Vegas. I was at the SEMA show, which is the largest automotive trade show in the world. He was part of the person that signed me up and got me in with the right connections there to make 4 appearances. And there was a company that flew me out to Las Vegas. They had my hotel and food and everything I needed waiting there, and all they wanted me to do was just kind of hang out and speak with some of their customers and let them know kind of the same things that I'm letting you guys know today about the NASCAR industry. So a degree in a sports management would offer many avenues to you via football, baseball, all that kinds of stuff. But NASCAR drivers do have managers, and multiple managers. They negotiate the contracts in which the owners put out. And say one of the larger companies, Joe Gibbs Racing. Joe Gibbs is looking for a driver, perhaps, and there are multiple drivers that are qualified for it. The sports managers, like you're talking, Cascade, the sports managers will go ahead and sort of negotiate what the driver's looking for in pay, and in vacation time and that kind of stuff. And we'll negotiate those contracts for the drivers and, put those things together, because the drivers are really busy trying to maintain their physical level and trying to stay in contact with their fans, because the fans are the what is making the whole sport go around. But I believe that might be something to check into. You can always contact, especially as a student, you can always contact NASCAR. If you go to NASCAR.com, all of the phone numbers for all of the people are listed there on the website, and just kind of throw it off them. Hey, what's a good avenue? You can contact UTI in Mooresville, North Carolina. The Universal Technical Institute has an entire NASCAR curriculum that you can go. I think it's more the technical side, but they'll have some great answers for you as well. That's what's great about the NASCAR community, is it's tight knit and everybody's always willing to help and looking to help. So just throw some emails out there. I'll later on I'll throw my email in the chat pod there. That way you guys have it. That way going further, if there's any questions you have, you can always shoot me an email, get a hold of me, and I can help you with some contacts, even if that's what's going on. To add on to the managing thing, there's also a lot of careers in media and publications, which is kind of close, because you're still dealing with the drivers in the sport and relaying information and that kind of stuff. So if journalism or media is something that you're into, I've got a lot of friends in the media world, and I'm really always excited to speak to the media about our races and in-depth stuff like that. So great question, and hopefully I can help you out in the future, and we can get you set. That's a great idea.
Awesome. We have another question, and that question is, are there many women that work in NASCAR?
There are. I'm sure you guys have heard of Miss Danica Patrick. She is from the open wheel world, and she happens to be a driver. She's not the only female driver around. There's multiple. Jennifer Jo Cobb drives in the Truck Series. There's some other women that drive in the Xfinity Series. I have some good friends in the regional touring level right now doing what I'm doing to work their way up as a driver. But beyond holding the steering wheel, there are, I'm going to go out on a limb, say thousands, absolutely thousands of women on the PR side, in the hospitality side, in the team world, handling sponsors and logistics. There are women drivers of the 18-wheeler trucks that travel from city to city, coast to coast, that bring all of the team's equipment and the hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of race cars and tires and fuel and parts. It's not a man's sport by any means. It is a vast world, and there are positions for everybody that anybody can do. There is no reason, and there actually is. I believe her name is Liz. I forget her last name. Liz is a tire changer on the number 7 car for Tommy Baldwin Racing, and she does a great job. She throws on her fire suit and her helmet, and she jumps over the wall as the cars come blaring down pit road at 60 miles an hour. She's changing the lug nuts. She's taking the tire off, putting the tire on, and she's doing that in 11 seconds. That's crazy. So Liz is a perfect example of there are no limitations to where women or men or young people can get involved in the sport. So great question.
Wow, that's pretty cool. 11 seconds.
Yeah, 11 seconds. I can't change tires on my own car in like under a minute or something like that. These guys are in a hurry.
That's pretty cool. George wants to know what your opinion is of Jimmie Johnson.
George, how's it going, man? Thanks for tuning in, man. Appreciate you stopping in. Jimmie Johnson, he has the ability to currently become a 7-time champion soon, and is another guy that is all about furthering education. And we feel that that's always important. But Jimmie is a person who's got a foundation, who helps needy people. Jimmie's a great representation on and off the track of what our sport is: a caring person who races at the top level, who takes care of his sponsors, and who is very compassionate with his fans. I personally, wishing that I could have as many wins as Jimmie Johnson. I look up to him. I have drivers that I enjoy, seeing and meeting and talking with and discussing my career. But Jimmie's a great guy, and he may not always be my first choice for a winner on Sunday, but he's always someone, like I said, that represents our sport well. And the more we can push our sport and show people that it's more than just driving in circles, that it's more of a family and friends type affair, I'm all about that. I want to get out our message. I want to show people how cool it is that we're able to go into a turn at well over 100 miles an hour, and come out the other side, and that it's amazing that we can have those cars stick to the track. And I feel that Jimmy does a good job of that. He's a great spokesman. He's a great driver, and I think he's come this Sunday. I think he's going to be the third 7-time champ that our sport has seen. He's going to join Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt as a 7-time champion, and that's an amazing feat that we may never, ever, ever see again.
That's pretty neat. Austin would like to know, how physically demanding is driving?
Good question, Austin. It's pretty wild. That's actually a good question. I haven't been asked that in a while. This June, it was mid-June, I won a race at Southern National Motorsports Park. It was a very long race. The ambient temperature outside that day was 101 or 102 with the heat index and full sun. Inside the car, my crew has a small digital gauge, and on that gauge, it's actually a readout of the internal temperature of the car. That day, the internal temperature of the car was over 130 degrees. It was hot. My shoe actually melted on the floor. It was hot, and it was a long race. I was able to endure that and come out as the winner that night. But I ended up having to go to the ambulance afterwards and get some IVs because I lost 11 pounds that afternoon in the car. That was all just sweating and my adrenaline running. So it is extremely hard to do, but you just need to put into your mindset that you're in that car to win a race and represent your sponsors, and it helps you get through that. The heat and the pressure. The heat is just as bad as the pressure. The pressure of having to perform and compete on that top level is hard enough, but then you add that heat, and it's pretty wild. So it's demanding. I don't work out as much as I should probably. Only 2 or 3 times a week, but there are some guys that are 7 days a week, just trying to get the cardio up and keep your heart rate where you can, keep it in that box to where you're not too excited because you'll make poor decisions in the car driving, avoiding wrecks and that kind of stuff if you're overexcited or overtired. So you got to keep that in a good box. But Austin, that's a great question, man. It is hard. If you go on YouTube and that kind of stuff and you type in some drivers' names, and you'll be able to find out their workout regimens, or even if you follow them on social media, they'll post what they're doing and how many miles they're running. Going back to Jimmy Johnson, I want to say he bikes 20 miles a day and runs 10 at a minimum. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's impressive. That's impressive. So there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, but the physical thing, it's a big thing. Diet also. Staying hydrated. I've got a sponsor. Their name is Noon Hydration, and they're actually an electrolyte supplement company. And I've been using their product to help me try and keep the electrolytes in my body, because losing that much sweat can really drain you and put you in a medically at a disadvantage. So you need to be on top of it. Great question.
Yeah, Cascade and I both agree about losing 11 pounds. Sign us up.
Yeah. And trust me, it's not as glamorous as you think. That was it. I got out of the car, and being in Victory Lane, it's so much fun, and friends and family and sponsors there, and I've got a really good following of fans here in the state. So, your adrenaline goes up and you're so excited. But after you push the car away, and then, you go back to your haul or your trailer, and, the media starts coming by, wants to do interviews, and you find yourself start to stumble for words almost, because being that dehydrated affects not only just your body, your brain, your thinking. So it's a serious thing to stay hydrated, whether you're just outside in the sun playing wiffle ball with a brother and sister, or you're at the racetrack. Definitely, the losing weight sounds like it might be a pro, but it definitely is not something you want to experience.
Sure. Alexa would like to know, how long have you been doing this particular job? And also, have you ever been injured while driving?
Okay, I'm gonna go back. I don't know if she was talking about the NASCAR or the dealership thing, working on Cadillacs, but essentially Cadillac I've been since I've been out of high school. It's been a great avenue for me to make a great living. I work at a franchise dealer here in North Carolina. I'm fully certified on the General Motors line. I am 3 classes away from General Motors from being a world-class technician. There's only, I believe, 1,100 of those that have ever happened. It's a lot of certifications and testing and proving to GM that you know their product in and out and can fix every part of the car bumper to bumper. So been doing that since high school. Just out of high school, I did an apprenticeship, and I'm 32 now. So you're looking 16, 15 years, something of that nature. The racing since I was 6, but on a level to where I was getting paid for it, I'm going to say about 18 years old. So a decent while I've been doing that.
What kind of starting salary does a person in racing tend to get?
It all depends. It depends on the level. It depends on the sponsorships and endorsements, because there's, just like Michael Jordan we knew from the Wheaties box, or Tiger Woods from the Wheaties box, there are multiple ways for you to represent brands other than just in the car. So a typical salary, we'll say at the lower level in NASCAR, let's talk about the Camping World Truck Series. Some of those drivers are still on a voluntary program to where they are just doing it to try and get somewhere. Some drivers are making, I would go out on a limb and say probably $50,000, $60,000 a year to do that. But it's a demanding touring schedule. You're always away from home, but there's always the ability to, like we talked about, further yourself and continue to follow your dream. So you take that salary and you continue to go forward. Into the other avenues, like a crew chief. Let's say a crew chief who monitors what's going on with the pit crew during the race and oversees the repairs and the maintenance of the cars. Some of those guys are well up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So there's many ways to make extremely good livings in the NASCAR world. To touch back into the dealership world, the majority of my colleagues that work in the shop, the guys that I work with, I'm going to say that they'll start out coming out of a tech school at about $30,000, and we've got many guys that are up to about $100,000 a year too. So it's a great way to learn a trade. There are many different trade jobs in America: welders and carpenters and plumbing and all that. There's always a demand for our growing country to have those trade jobs. But anything you put your mind to, though, you can make money doing. There's always ways to do that, to make a living. In my world, I consider it, yes, I'm fixing cars, but I'm solving problems. I'm offering solutions to people for their cars to fix them. So a lot of different ways to make a living.
That's pretty awesome. So Alyssa says that NASCAR is a pretty daring and adrenaline-filled sport. Outside of work, do you have hobbies that are also thrill-seeking, like skydiving, shark diving, or are you more mellow in your private life?
Oh, wow. Shark diving? Are you crazy? Well, I mean, for the shark diving, we had some sharks kind of swimming around North Carolina this year at the coast, and we kind of stayed out of the water. But when I do get time at home, where I'm off, I'm not racing, I'm not fixing General Motors cars, I absolutely kind of just chill. I love to spend time with my daughter Ella. She's almost 15 months. She's walking now. She talks. She has a bunch of Power Wheels cars that my sponsors have wrapped in a vinyl wrap to make it look like my race cars. So I love kind of letting her drive those around the neighborhood. She loves the little bounce houses that you go in. So there's a place down the road that we take her and enjoy that kind of stuff. But no thrill seeking that I can think of, unless you consider fishing thrill seeking. But I mean, that's not too wild. I enjoy hanging out with my friends. There's a lot of times that I need to sacrifice time with friends and family to be away, whether it be on the West Coast or here on the East Coast. So I kind of enjoy just relaxing. I enjoy documentaries on TV. I always enjoy learning about different things and items and career paths that I didn't choose. They interest me. But skydiving, I'm going to say no. Shark diving, I'm going to say no. But I enjoy fishing. I enjoy hanging out with the family. I like cooking. I like cooking. When I get home, I can pull up the barbecue and make a chicken and enjoy some time at home. But not so much. I guess I get all my danger. All that comes out on the racetrack.
Right. Well, and I think you would definitely want to flambe your steak and chicken, not the car.
Yeah, fire actually. I mean, that's a crazy point. Going back to more jobs, NASCAR has something they call the R&D Center. That's the Research and Development Center that's in Daytona Beach, and there's also a division of it here in North Carolina. But that's been a main thing on the safety list. Is NASCAR is always trying to find out more ways for us to be safer. And they use a ton of physics and science to find how they can help us with the G forces of collisions and crashes. And also, like you said, fire. Fire is a scary thing, but we have some amazing technology that we use to protect us from fire and to put out fires in the car. And those are all brought by engineers and scientists in the NASCAR world.
Definitely. So Austin says that he has an uncle that lives in Charlotte, and they have a NASCAR community and typically a number of events that go on. What all does NASCAR do with local communities?
Wow. Not just NASCAR, but to get into the drivers as well. Everybody's usually heard of Richard Petty. He's one of the best. His son, Kyle, was a racer as well. And Kyle had a son that tragically lost his life in a crash at New Hampshire in 2001. It was definitely a sad deal. When that happened, there was a group of people that came forward and they created what's called the Hans device, the head and neck restraint device that we all wear now. It's a really awesome piece that gives me the ability to go home and see Jacqueline and Elle every night. But when Kyle's son did pass, they began a charity, and it was small. It started very small, and it grew into something now that's absolutely beautiful. And my team's a part of it. We donate to it. It's called the Victory Junction Gang Camp. It's a ranch. It's a summer camp where children with disabilities they get to go and just unwind, have some fun without judgment. It's awesome. They've got zip lining and horses and all sorts of stuff. And Kyle and the NASCAR community are so about the Victory Junction Gang Camp, and I'm really proud that our sport's able to do something like that. And that's just one thing. So the Victory Junction Gang Camp is out there. Ryan Newman has something called the Rescue Ranch, where him and his wife, they take in animals and shelter them and find homes and find adoptions and do that kind of deal. There's the Kevin Harvick Foundation, and Kevin Harvick when he was younger, he was into the wrestling programs. And the Kevin Harvick Foundation raises money for children in the community where the sports teams need money, whether it be football teams that need pads and helmets or the wrestling teams that need mats. Each one of the drivers really has a great campaign where they're trying to help the community. Martin Truex is another one. He's kind of up from where I'm from. He's in New Jersey. He's from New Jersey. He lives down here now. And his longtime girlfriend, hopefully soon to be wife, Martin, if you ever hear this, man, put a ring on that thing. Sherry had ovarian cancer, and she won the battle against ovarian cancer. So the Martin Truex Jr. Foundation raises money for adolescent cancer and also ovarian cancer. So I mean, just on and on. NASCAR has the Kids and Community Foundation, where they kind of do like the NFL does with Play It Safe. There's so many different charities, and there's so many different things that you can drive all across the South and see and be a part of. And I urge you to, if you do have some time, check out some of the driver and NASCAR charities and see what they're about. See if there's one that you'd like to get involved with and help out. So just awesome ways. But yeah, all over the South here, NASCAR's involved.
Pretty cool. Has anyone ever told you that you weren't good enough at what you do, or in high school or in school that you just were a stinky student and weren't going to aspire to anything? And if so, how did you respond?
I'm sitting here talking to students today, and I can say that this is a response that all the teachers in New York telling me that there'd be no way that I'd ever find my way into a race car. They always told me that I was pursuing a dream that I'd never be able to obtain because I wasn't near the South and NASCAR wasn't a big thing. There's racing and there's cars in the North, but to someone that had no idea about the sport and how far it reaches, they were able to foreshadow that there'd be no way. And putting my mind to it and working hard for so many years, I now can say, if I ever see some of those teachers again, I can say, hey, listen, I don't want to say you were wrong, but maybe you were confused. Maybe you realized that I wouldn't work so hard at it and I wouldn't pursue it as much. And yeah, I was told that NASCAR is just a bunch of crazy guys that go around in circles and that there's nothing to it. But now being at the level to where I can almost provide for my family by driving a car and representing my sponsors and meeting new people and connecting with fans, it's getting me to these levels to where, you know, that one teacher or those teachers that told me that may turn on the TV soon enough and see, wow, I think I taught him math in ninth grade or 10th grade, you know. So there's always going to be the naysayers, but you need to make sure that you rise above that. And if you feel strong in something, you need to prove that you are going to do it, and you're going to do it at the best level that you can, and you're going to continue to excel. And maybe you'll be able to show younger people that are thinking the same way that they can do it too. And that's what I absolutely love so much, is the fact that I'm able to talk to students, talk to even younger kids, 3 and 4 years old, who are at the races on Saturdays and Sundays, and they're looking through the fence and all they see is a car. But I remember that when I was young, and I remember my hometown heroes, and I thought that that was so cool. And to now have some of these guys call me or send me texts when I win, it means so much. So it's a full circle deal, and you just never let somebody tell you that you can't attain a goal. You know, if you can put your mind to it, man, you're going to be able to do it. And I promise you, it's going to pay dividends.
Awesome. When you're in your race car driving, do you listen to music?
No, I don't listen to music, although there's times where I probably could turn up some tunes and get into a good mood. But inside my helmet, I wear tiny little earbuds, kind of like these ones that you'd see for an iPod or something, but they're custom molded to my ear to block outside noise. And those earbuds are actually linked to a radio, sets of radios in my car, because when I'm in my car, my seat is so tight and confined, and the belts are so tight, and all the safety equipment's on, I really can't turn my head much. We have rear view mirrors in the car, but it still leaves many blind spots. So I've got a gentleman named Ron, and he is actually a pilot during the daytime. So this role that he plays kind of fits well. But he is usually on top of a large tower, or on top of a truck, or on top of a scoring stand. And all of the drivers have one of these individuals. We call them a spotter. And the spotters are there for us to listen to. And as I'm driving, Ron's talking to me, telling me whether there's trouble on the track or what lap we're on, because sometimes you're going so fast you can't see that board. So he's relaying the pertinent information to me during the race. And I've got a button on my steering wheel that when I need to talk to Ron to ask him questions or anything like that, or talk to my crew and let them know how the car's handling, I push the button. There's a microphone right in front of my mouth, and I'm able to talk to my crew the whole time during the race. Sometimes we joke. Sometimes we talk about what we're going to have for dinner on the way home from the track. And, you know, sometimes we talk about, hey, look, you know, there's people up there. We see that they got our shirts on tonight. That's really cool. So we're always talking and chatting, but no music. Maybe one day, though. Maybe if I get really far out in front and I'm, like, leading the field by, you know, like a couple seconds, maybe I'll turn a radio on or something like that.
You almost need, you know, sometimes that Top Gun danger zone, you know, just put the metal to the floor.
Yeah.
For those of you who are just joining us, if you have questions for Brian, the number is 813-330-0176. And to continue on the music conversation, on your iPod, what kind of music is on there right now?
Right now, I'm all over the place now. Remember, I'm from close to New York City growing up, so I've got a little bit of hip hop stuff. But I'm really I'm big into like Bob Marley. It kind of chills me out, and he had some good messages. He was a good guy. I like the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I kind of like some groovy stuff like that. My all-time favorite band, actually big fans of me. I'm big fans of them. The band 311. Very positive and uplifting guys from Nebraska. And they've been making albums for years and years, and I just enjoy I enjoy listening to their stuff. I enjoy seeing them live. There's some good groups, but I bounce back and forth depending on the day, depending on what season it is, depending on what we're doing. If I'm headed to the track, you know, that kind of stuff. But I listen to it all. You know, there's no one thing that I'm in on.
Awesome. Again, if you have any questions, 330-0176. We are happy to ask them. What else do you have to share with us?
I'd like to kind of get into a little bit of the technical side of the GM cars. Me and Miss Stern were talking earlier about, some people they get in their car, they turn the key, they put on the radio, and off they go, and that's all the knowledge they have of the car besides putting gas in. But it's far more reaching than that. Miss Stern had mentioned that her car doesn't even have a key; it has a transmitter. And we were talking about the technology that uses a radio frequency technology that relays between the key and the car. And some of our cars that we have now with Cadillac have more than 60 computers on board that are talking at the speed of light. That goes back to where I first fell in love with automobiles and how they're more than just four rubber tires that move you down the road. There's so much that goes on. There's so many different components in the engine and the math that goes on to figure all that out, that the factories are held by guidelines by the government of what the cars must get for miles per gallon. So the developers and the builders of these cars actually have to figure out how to put the right size motor in the car to meet the guidelines to be able to sell the car. But beyond that, like I said, the majority of my cars that I fix are Cadillacs, and Cadillac has the cutting edge technology at all times. The Cadillac right now has something called a Q system, the Cadillac user experience, where I can push a button and tell the car to turn the AC on or move my seat back or tune to my favorite radio channel. And that technology is something that I think is just so cool compared to what cars were at just a few years ago, to where now they're equipped with Bluetooth technology, working with Android and Apple and all sorts of avenues there. There's so many ways that you can get into a position like I am, working in a dealership and fixing these cars. And then once you're there, there's so much endless knowledge, because every year the car manufacturers have to find something bigger and better and cooler than the next door neighbor. So there's always information. I get to visit cities all over the country, learning about these cars hands-on, meet technicians from other parts of the country, and use it as a forum to help myself learn more stuff. But the entertainment technology is my favorite part of the Cadillac, because it's constantly changing, and it's sometimes is a challenge to figure out. But if you can keep up with the technology and you can keep your mind open to always learn, you will always be able to excel at fixing them, which is really cool.
It is cool, and it's amazing how from one model to another, how things work differently. For example, I drive a 2016 Honda Pilot,
okay,
and my husband drives a 2014 Honda Accord, and you would think the Bluetooth would work pretty similarly, if not better, in my car than in his car.
Correct.
And it actually connects better in his car than my car.
Yeah, that, sometimes that comes down to the phone that you're using, or just the technology that, in this specific type that Honda had put forward for their linking and their syncing of their Bluetooth. But yeah, I mean, drastically, changes will happen year to year, and sometimes within the same year, if the manufacturer sees that customers aren't happy with the system, they'll stop it on the line in Detroit or in Kentucky where they're made and actually implement a change. And that comes back from what the customers are seeing versus what the technicians are telling them and relaying them. So it's really cool how that can happen, and always trying to better the brand.
Definitely. Bob would like to know, what do you think about Tesla and self-driving cars?
Tesla, that's a great question, Bob. Thanks for writing in. Thanks for joining in today. Tesla and what we call autonomous vehicles. General Motors currently has the technology. It is called V2V, is the name of the technology, and it uses Google Map coordinates. I have not experienced it. The government has not allowed it through its DOT program yet, Department of Transportation. There's a lot of unknowns. You can imagine if parts are to fail and you're not driving the car, that might be going back to the dangerous situation. That might be dangerous until we fine tune these systems. But as for Tesla, I believe it is a beautiful car. It has a ton of power, And I think it's the direction that cars are going to probably go, with the fuel cost always up and down and emissions where we're looking to keep our greenhouse gases lower. I think that an idea like that where we're using a fully electric vehicle is something really cool. The technology behind it is awesome, where there's actually 4 drive motors. Each one of the wheels is its own motor. I think that's really cool. I don't know a ton more about the car, but I continue to read and watch documentaries and learn about it. But electric cars in the past have been a little bit funny looking. Some of the older first generation electric cars weren't really, let's say, pretty cars. They were just kind of eco vehicles. Whereas now you've got a Tesla. It's a gorgeous car that nobody would mind having in their garage, but it still serves the purpose of being an EV vehicle. I dig that. I think that that's awesome. I think it's a good way to go. It's a luxury type vehicle at a good price for what it is. And the way that Tesla actually works their sales is they sell right from Tesla. If you want a Tesla, you're actually calling Tesla up. There are no dealerships. To my knowledge, it's a different program than what the big car manufacturers like Ford, General Motors, Chevy, all those use dealerships, franchise dealerships, where you go, you check out the lot, you like the color, you like the interior, that's the one you buy. You actually build to spec your Tesla. You can pick any option that they offer, and that way you're getting the right one, and they cut out the middleman in the process. It's something to really keep your eye on, because I think more manufacturers will actually go to that sort of format. So
that would be nice. I mean, unfortunately, you pay for options sometimes when you get to be specific. But even my Pilot, when I'm in traffic, it will automatically start to brake on its own.
Yeah. Crash response. Yep, exactly. So
it's pretty wild.
And there's all sorts of distractions, whether it be children and phone calls and all that kind of stuff. So you always got to be safe. But now they're implementing safety features like that are awesome, because there's always the variable of, I spilled my coffee and I wasn't paying attention for a split second, but the vehicle knew I was approaching another car.
Right.
Cadillac has something called adaptive cruise control. When you're on the highway and you're going to see grandma and you're taking that 4-hour ride, you can set the cruise control at the speed limit of 55. And if you pull up on another car, the car will actually slow down and get you to a safe speed to where you're ready to pass, instead of running up on that car and having to jam on the brakes. The car is almost to where it's driving itself, getting back to autonomous cars. But the control is still in the driver's hands. But we're aiding that currently.
My Pilot does that too. It's when you set it, it's pretty freaky sometimes to have your car all of a sudden brake for you.
Yeah. It's using the same technology that the government uses to monitor flights. It's using the same radar system that they're actually using at the airports with the big tower. It's the same company that makes most of them for the automotive world too. Pretty neat to tie in the two.
That's neat. Yeah. Definitely. Alexa would like to know, why did you decide, at least I think it's Alexa, it's a multi-family, so it could be Alexa, it could be George. Why did you decide to fix Cadillacs and not Ford or any other car?
Good question. Thanks for chatting back in. Growing up, my father was a Chevy guy and my mom was a Chevy guy. And when I started racing go-karts, I put Chevy stickers on the go-karts, just because that's what we did at my house. We were fans of the Chevrolet line. And when I went to school and I started learning the General Motors line, I started to realize that the Cadillacs were far more challenging. Not that the Chevrolets weren't, but the Chevrolets were more of your mechanical car, not as many creature comforts, which General Motors is changing now. But at that point in time, I absolutely loved the challenge of being where I needed to figure out the vehicle. Even though it was a piece of metal and some wires, I was having to dig into this car to find out how the system worked, to be smarter than it, honestly, because sometimes the cars can be pretty smart with all those computers. So the challenge of actually learning the line of Cadillac when I had already known everything else, and seeing the amounts of computers and the types of communication systems that they use, and how nice and actually how beautiful the cars were, that's where I decided, I think the Cadillac line is for me. And some dealerships will actually offer all of the lines where it's Chevrolet, GMC, Buick, and Cadillac. But my franchise dealer here, the Thompson family, we have GMC, Buick, and Cadillac. So I do service all of them, but I try and keep myself to where I'm focusing on the Cadillacs. That way we can keep our customers running smooth. I've got 5 guys that work with me here in the dealership, and some of them prefer to work on the GMC or the Buick. So it all works out. But when you pass your certifications from General Motors, it's across the board. It's everything. But just to me, it was very intriguing how the Cadillac line is set apart from the GM world. It's something very special. It's got a lot of prestige and a lot of history behind it as well. So all of that was the deciding factors for me to go forth and pursue the job with Cadillac.
Very awesome. Austin would like to know, how often do you train for racing?
Simply, I just, when I can, but usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll do a little jogging, kind of stuff like that. I meet some buddies sometimes at the local gym, treadmill stuff, some circuit stuff. I keep myself at a decent weight and a decent fitness. And this, right now we're in the off season, but as we get closer to February, when we're about to get back in the car and start testing, I'll start ramping some of that up to where I'll 2 times a day and really hone in on my diet to where I'm taking in less carbs and trying to keep up on vegetables and proteins and stuff like that. Weight is really important in the car because NASCAR lays out guidelines of where the car can be at a minimum weight, and we try and get the car closest to the minimum weight that we can. So what I can do is I can make sure that I'm trimmed up for the season so we can have that competitive advantage in the car. If I'm 5 or 10 pounds heavier than I would like to be, or my crew chief would like to see me at, we need to make compromises in the car's handling and performance to overcome that. So I usually get the finger and he gets mad at me and says, I don't know what you're eating, but I don't want you having that ice cream tonight. I kind of understand what he's saying. He's not picking on me. We're just trying to work towards that common goal of being where the car needs to be at that minimum, which is usually 3,150 pounds. So we try and roll over the scales in the NASCAR Tech Building at about 3,152, 54. Give ourselves about a 4-pound leeway, but that's where our goal is at. So that's my regimen. A lot of cardio stuff. I don't have the biggest muscles in the world, but I try and keep the cardio up so I can stay totally fit inside that car for the long races.
Awesome. We are about at the end, so if anybody has any last-minute questions, again, that number is 813-330-0176, and we'll give you a minute or 2 to ask them, and then we will wrap things up. This has been an amazing session, and I very much appreciate your time, and I will be posting Brian's email on the YouTube page and on our website, so that if you have questions, if you weren't able to participate in today's live session and you're watching the recording, you can give him a shout out on email or Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. He is the real OB29. And I sent some Star Trek in there.
No, actually, what? It comes back to my last name. When I had made the move from New York to North Carolina, my last name is obviously hard to say. It's Obiedzenski. But all the different track announcers were having a tough time saying it. And one of them said, hey, we're just going to call you Obi. I think it's kind of cool. And I said, all right, let's run with that. And it has just taken off. And so now no one calls me Brian. Everybody calls me Obi. And at work, at home, my mom calls me Obi now. So it kind of stuck. It was a cute little play on words there with my name. But it all kind of came together. It worked out. But like she said, if you can, follow me on Twitter, on Facebook. You can kind of watch the inner workings of how everything unfolds and how we work on the cars and prepare for races. And even at the races on YouTube, if you search at The Real Obi or Brian Obiedzenski Racing, I've got some in-car videos that you can actually see what it's like to be inside that car at like well over 100 miles an hour. So check out some of that stuff. You can see how the car gets into the turn and sinks down to the track, like we talked about, suspension, geometry, and math, and how my crew figures that out. going back into everything that we spoke about, that there's more than one job in the racing world than just holding the steering wheel. There's many different ways that you can find a way to participate and volunteer and learn about the sport. And the same thing on the General Motors world. There's many different ways that you can learn about cars, even if it's just to help yourself and avoid a mechanic bill when you guys start driving. Having the basic maintenance knowledge about when to change your oil, rotate your tires, and check your brakes, and that kind of stuff can save you some substantial amount of money to do those things yourself and actually enjoy something that you can take pride, say, hey, I was able to do that, and and that's something else that you get to put into your encyclopedia knowledge up in your brain.
Perfect. I have the perfect wrap-up question, and that is, when is your next race? And when it is, will it be on TV?
My next race will not be on TV. My next race is a non-points race here in North Carolina next Friday. And this, getting back to the weight thing, it's the day after Thanksgiving. Why are they doing this? I'm going to have to miss the sweet potatoes and everything. But the next race is at Southern National Motorsports Park. It's on Friday evening next week, and then after that, I'm off for a while. I have a appearance deal up in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks that I'm headed to. But we get back late January, early February. We'll start racing next year. We've got 48 races. We're going to run for 2 track championships, and we're going to run for the NASCAR Whelen All-American Series National Championship in Division 2. If we're able to pull that off, we'll move to Division 1 for 18. And if we're able to move from there, then you'll start to see us more on TV. But you can, like I said, follow my social media. The races that are televised or are pay-per-view type races on the internet, that kind of thing, I'll always have links up there to where you can see them, where there's times and networks and all that kind of stuff. But there's a lot of internet feed races that you can watch all the time. So make sure you check that out. Follow along on the internet with me. And I appreciate you guys giving me the chance to speak to you today. I hope you're able to pick up something about the racing world and the mechanic world. And, if there's any questions you have, don't hesitate to email me. I'm always accessible. And I hope the best for you guys. I hope you guys are enjoying your program that you're in. And happy holidays. Have fun. And we'll talk to you soon. Maybe I'll come back and do this again sometime. But I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you so much.
Obi, no, thank you. You have been an amazing speaker, and I hope that everybody enjoyed listening and getting to ask questions, and hopefully they will follow you. I know I will. I'm not big into NASCAR, but it's kind of cool knowing, hey, I know him. So thank you again for your time, and our next speaker will be at 3 o'clock this afternoon. Have an amazing day. Thank you again, Obi.
Thank you so much, guys. You take care now.